Sometimes we are fighting silent battles, and it's been going on for so long that we feel like, God, will my story ever change? But let me tell you something, your story doesn't change until you take that act of boldness and that act of faith. With the woman with the issue of blood, she was bleeding for 12 years. And instead of just accepting it as her fate, because imagine that being your story for 12 years. 12 years you are bleeding, and in those days you couldn't come around everyone. You were impure, you were unclean, you were bleeding, you had to isolate yourself from the rest of society. So imagine that's your story for 12 years. And then she said, no, this cannot be my story. She got so fed up that she took that act of faith and boldness, because in that time, touching other people, you make them unclean. Push yourself for a crowd just to touch the hem of Jesus's garment. That itself, you can't do that in those days. But she said, no, my story must change. So she took a huge leap of faith. She took one last chance. She said, if I just touch the hem. And she was healed. Her faith healed her. Sometimes when our story has been a certain way for so long, our faith goes down. I want to pray that may the Lord increase your faith, because it is only by faith that our story will change. Your story doesn't have to be the same way. You don't have to continually be rejected. You don't continually have to be abandoned. You don't have to suffer continually. This doesn't have to be your story. But God has better for you. But it takes a huge act of faith and a huge act of boldness, that we don't accept this situation, but we say, no, this can't be my story anymore.